I hope you guys have gone through the first day of recording. If who has joined or otherwise who has joined later, do you guys have any question to ask for that so we can continue, or if you have still any doubts, we can go. So we discussed about on the first day like what Appian is, what a BPM concept means, and then we also talk about the Appian requirement currently in the market, and we also talk about like what's a no code and what's low code, and we see some small example of what kind of coding we can have, and then we also talk about something on the sale like Appian has its own language and what kind of application we will be creating in Appian and who will be the user, who person who's going to use this Appian. So if you guys have any question in that or anything you wanted to ask, go ahead. Because last session we had to wrap up uh, unexpectedly because we have some other trainings going on starting at the same time. So yeah, I couldn't take the questions. So any questions before we start?
Yes, when will the course actually start, the actual one?
The course actually, see the first two sessions usually we talk about the Appian, and then third session onwards we start the as a actual
Hmm.
course
And
development
when will
trainings.
that
Like
be?
I guess if everything goes okay from tomorrow onwards.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So the members who have joined last, and any question if you guys have in your mind, please go ahead. Otherwise, I'll start like demoing how the Appian suite looks like, what are the suits we have, what are the features we will be touching to learn those things. Yeah. Any questions, guys? I see Vivek is there from the last session. I guess Vani as well. Okay. Um, okay. Let me start then. Please do ask me if you have any questions. Okay. All right. Okay. I hope you guys can see my screen. Yes. No.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
So as we discussed as well, in the last first demo session that in Appian we have two kind of users. First is called basic user, and second is called the system administrator, right? We also have a third kind of user where it's kind of a basic user, but with some extra permission. We that what we see is the developers. Okay. So, but ideally there are only two kind of users: basic and system administrator. So, what's the difference between basic and system? Uh, yes, I will be showing up the codings as well. Yeah. All right. So, what kind of users we are talking about here? Basic and system administrator, right? So, what is a basic user? Basic user will have only the UI access, where they can access the applications and whatever the features they wanted to provide based on that application that they can perform. What can a system administrator can do? A system administrator can access any suites of an Appian. Either it's a basic UI, the application features, or the development console, or the database console, or the administration console. So this kind of users we have in Appian. Now, as I said, there is a one more kind of user. It's kind of a basic user only. Whenever we create a user, we define as a basic user, but we give them some extra privileges like developer access. So they can go and develop the applications. They can have this process model creator access. They can create a process model, and then we don't give them as a system administrator, so they will not be able to access the system admin console. Okay. So what are the consoles? What are the suites we have in Appian? So first of all, when we talk about this is the basic URL, the base URL of this environment. For example, that what I'm using is this is a base URL, and then we have a suite. So till here it's a base URL, and then we have a suite, and then after that you can see a tempo, right? So tempo is the very first you can suite of an Appian, which is accessible by all the users, like basic user and a system administrator. so that basic, because initial days, right now we are creating sites for these users, but earlier days there was no site concept, so everyone was using tempo. See, in the tempo we can have a news feed. It's a default out of box feature of Appian. We cannot change this one, this tempo should. So this is, there are 5 different tabs we have it in the tempo: news, task, record, reports, and actions. When we talk about the news, so it, like in this environment, if anything is going to be published, those will be listed here. Let's say, for example, if you are creating any applications in package or something, downloading any package, those things can be listed here. And also, if you are going to have some features developed in your application where it's required to be published onto the public domain, that can come here. Second is a task, like if in the application whatever you have created, if any task is assigned to you, those will be listed under this task. For example, if you are a member of, let's say, 5 or 6 applications, all the tasks will be listed here. Okay, so that kind of feature, it's out of box features Appian provides to you. Third is the records. In Appian, if you have records created for you, if any records are basically the collection of data, and then it also allow you to take an action on it. We will talk about records more in depth when we start the development. But yeah, records, if you have created any records for your applications, those records will be listed here. And it's not only the one record. If you are part of more than one application, you will be able to see all those records listed here. Third, the fourth tab is that reports. Reports are basically to, if you have any reporting features developed for your application. Let's say, for example, if you have anything developed where you are going to show some charts, some uh, other different kind of charts, or some graphic data, or some grid data, you can create a report and we can display here. The last one is called action. Action is basically if you want to trigger a new action. Let's say, for example, you are going to use an application called leave management system, and you want to apply a leave for yourself or for your employee. So you can come and you can trigger a new action point. So whenever you trigger a new request, it will get submitted, and the request will be assigned to someone, right, to approve or reject. So whoever is the manager, when they log in, they will go to their task tab, and they can see, okay, a request has been assigned to them, so they can fulfill the request. All right. So this is the very first shoot of an action, which is called tempo, and it can be accessible by all kind of users. Okay, any question, any doubt here?
Yes. So you said that because of the sites is a recent feature in Appian,
Mhm,
so
mhm.
so technically then tempo is not really used that much now. Is that the case?
I mean, see, many companies are now using the sites. All are developed in tempo, so it's not a big task to uh, move the object from tempo to sites. But there are very few companies we are still using the tempo as well, because their application is such a huge application, so they don't want to make a change right away, right? So they are still using the tempo. So what we will do, we will be starting from the tempo, and then we will be slightly moving to the site. So you will be understand that how a tempo is working, how a site can be work. Okay,
So the sites are technically the front end for the user of the application.
exactly.
And tempo does the same thing as well, but sites is a recent feature that is a bit more organized.
Yes, and then site is like here. If you see that, right, you have all the listed number of actions here, and then all the applications here. So if you want to work on a particular application, you can click and then here. But you do not have a particular page for your particular application. But a site is for basically for a particular application. You will have different sites for different applications. Right? Okay.
Okay.
Any more questions, guys? In this tempo, we will be using this tempo for initially, and then we'll see that how do we move from tempo to site. Site is basically, it will give by look and feel wise, it will give you that you are working on a web version. Right now, you see that, right? It's an Appian shoot. It's seems like we are using an Appian tool and then we are using the site, right? For example, if I move you to some site, let's say, so this is one of the application that we might have created, and then here you can see this is a site. So it will be all the URL page and it will look like you are using one of your applications. Let me give you some Appian created site. Let's say they have created Acme solution site. Here you can see that if they have multiple tabs, and then this particular site is related to this particular application, Acme solutions. No other tasks, no other applications features, you can see it here. So basically the site is for a particular set of application. You can merge it for sure, but still the concept is that you need to be distinguish your application separately, right? So that's the reason they come up with the site. Okay, any more questions? Shall I move next, please? All right, so this is the first shoot where we talk about the tempo, and it has the 5 sub tabs. The second shoot is called Appian Designer. See, Appian Designer is basically a development shoot. Okay, and to move there, you have to click on this grid icon and then go to the Appian Designer that we clicked, right? So this is basically for the not for the basic user, right? Basic user cannot see these things because basic user is only for the front end, the UI part that you need to work on the application. However, if the basic user has the credibility of designer, they have the access of the designer group, they are added a part of the designer group, and they are also added as a part of the process model group, they will be able to see this particular suit. And then they can create an application, and let's see what they can do it. So basically this is a design shoot that we call designer, where all the development happens. Okay, now here you can see all these things, right? These all are nothing but a set of applications. So in one Appian environment, it's not like you can create only one application, you can create more than one application. Okay, how do we create an application? You just click on the new application and you have to give some name and all, prefix and all. It will create an application folder for you. So what that creates, it creates an application folder. You can see application package, right? So this is entirely nothing but an application package. Okay, for all the different applications they have created it. All right. Now this is the first tab of this shoot that is called applications, where you can create your all applications, and then under each application package you can develop each object for you. We will also talk about the objects, what are the objects we create in detail, but first let me complete this shoot thing. The second is called objects. This objects tab will give you the list of all the objects that we have it. So it's not going to be limited to your application wise. It's a all the applications that have all the objects, it will come here. Let's say, for example, if I filter on the data type, then you will see that it will list you all the data types that are available in this environment, not the application wise, but throughout all the objects. Okay. Now the third option is called deploy. Deploy is basically for the monitoring the deployment process. If you are going to deploy one app environment to other environment, right? All those deployment objects will come here. Deployment details will come under here whenever you make a deployment. The fourth tab is called monitor. Monitor is basically what is going on with your process models, whatever objects we are creating, right? And if it's running in the backend, so if you want to track those requests or the process model instance, you can come to the monitor and you can do that. And then finally, we have the fifth tab is called users, which will give you the list of the users that are available into the system. Okay. You can also create a user from here. You can also deactivate a user from here. All right. Any question in this tab, in this shoot?
So can you repeat about the monitor?
See, whenever we trigger an action, right? So whenever we trigger an action, a backend process executes. Okay. Let me show you. Let's say, for example, this is an action I want to trigger. Okay. Let's say right now, let me show you. Go to the monitor and click on the activity. Okay, you see this one right now, only this much process are there, active instances. Okay, I'm going to initiate one more action. I say initiate transfer. Okay, and then I click on the users, hit next.
So this is technically a debugging tool.
Correct. Okay, so you see here one more instance has been get added here. So what it is doing, it is basically whatever instance we have triggered, that we can see here, and we can debug, we can analyze is what is happening. If something goes wrong, we have to come to this page, and then we have to see where it is breaking and what the issue is, what is happening, anything else, if anything goes wrong. Okay, let me show you. So this is a process that's running in the backend. So it says that okay, the process was started. All blues are means it's work completely successfully fine. Green is mean it is waiting here to be completed, and here we have triggered some other process. So that was debugging something. Suppose something has gone wrong here, then we can go to the details and then we can check what's gone wrong. So that we can check into the monitor mode. As you said, yes, we can debug the instance, what is happening in the backend. Okay, clear. Shall we move next?
Yes.
All right. So we talk about the tempo, we talk about the designer. Now the third tab that we have is called cloud database. The cloud database Appian also gives you a database, inbuilt database. Okay, look and feel wise, you can see it's a MySQL server, but it is using as a backend server. It is using MariaDB. Okay, MariaDB server is being used for inbuilt database. What we can do here, we can create a tables, we can create views, procedures, functions for our application purpose. It's not like that we need to use this inbuilt database only. If you have any outside database like SQL Server or Oracle already installed, for your organization, you can also use those uh, databases. It's not required to use this one. But if you have no database already used in your organizations, you can Appian gives you its inbuilt database where you can create all those tables and views and procedures and use them. Okay, so very easy. So MariaDB, it's very easy to create a table. You don't have to learn the syntax. You just click on the new and give the table name and number of columns, and then whatever columns you want to give the type, and just click on save. It will create a table for you. Yeah, but
So
yes, for
so
procedure and functions, you need some database knowledge. Yeah, go ahead.
so the default database is MariaDB, and it
Yes.
looks like this. So if we have any other database that we want to use instead of Maria,
Mhm.
the interface will be the same, or will it
No,
be
no, no.
slightly different?
No, that's different. It is inbuilt, right? It's an inbuilt in your Appian environment, so you are having it here. For other SQL Server, that's a different application itself, right? What we need to do is that we need to connect this Appian environment to that database. Your database will be a separate entity. We just need to make a connection between them so we can use those database through this Appian environment.
How we can connect, from where we can connect this particular database, other database, I'm just saying.
API, by using the API. So if you are a system administrator user, you need to go to the admin console. So see, to expose your any of the database, right, any of the things, you need to create some API string, right? So you need to come to the database, whatever they have exposed, like services. We can come to the data source here, and then we can add a new data source. Okay, you have to give the name, let's say Oracle, and then type, I'm going to select, let's say, Oracle, and then connection string, right? Your service provider has to give you this connection string and user and password. So you can click, provide all these details so that your Appian environment will get connected to your third party. Okay. And what are the type of database you can connect? You can connect Aura, MySQL, DB2, MariaDB, MySQL, Oracle. PostgreSQL and SQL Server. All is get allowed to connect it directly.
After
Which one is
connect,
the most popular?
Most popular, Oracle's is being because Oracle is more secure, right? So Oracle is being used most of the time. Yeah. But right now, nowadays, many companies are using this inbuilt because it's very faster. It's inbuilt, so it will be very faster, right? So if they can transfer the data, they are ready to do that. But bigger organizations, some financial company, some like Barclays, or you can talk about the Johnson and Johnson or the Merck, these kind of companies, they do not want to use that, so they use still the existing database by using a connection point. Yeah, but there was another question someone was asking.
so actually create after creating this configuration part, how
Mhm.
exactly we are going to use it in our or can we can just integrate. So how we can do that?
So whenever if you do a successful connection here, right, the
Yeah.
database will be available to your Appian. We'll see those, those parts whenever we start a development. We can see that from where we do get connection. Basically, what
Okay.
happens is that let me quickly give you show you. Basically, what happens? Let me come up here in the object. There's an object called data store in Appian. Okay, so whenever we create an application, for each application we will have one data store. In the data store, we need to define which database we need to connect. Right, you can see right the
Okay.
default is a
Got it.
Tomcat. Here you have to connect the database. So once you do the connection here, right, it will like just I was creating Oracle JDBC Oracle. So it will come here JDBC Oracle, and we can use that one to connect with the database. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any question on the database?
No, please go ahead.
Now the fourth important is for the system administrator only, the admin console that I just opened right now. So this tab will be accessible only by the system administrators. Whoever the users as a system administrator, they can only access this particular site. Now, how we can define a user, right? Let me show you that. If we go to the user tab, you can see here. Let's say, for example, I'll take mine. So I am a system administrator here. So whenever we create a user, we can define a type, basic user or system administrator. So as I said, system administrator, so this user will be able to have the access all the things. Now, for example, if I give you another user called, uh, so this one, this is a basic user, right? So this user will not have the access of system admin, the admin console. Okay. Now, there's another user type that we discussed, right? Let me give you that. So this is another user. It's also a basic user, but this user, let me show you that this user is also part of certain groups. Here we can see that this user is also part of the certain groups where I can show you. Let me designer. So if a basic user is also part of a designer group, they will be able to access the designer's suite of this Appian. So they can do the development. Okay. See database editors because it's a part of designer, so they will have the editor, database administrator groups that they will automatically they will be the part of that. And also we have something called process model creator. Let me show you that process model creators. So whenever we create a basic user and then add them to these particular groups, they will be able to access the development side. Okay, but not the system admin.
Hello.
Yeah.
Then what is the use? Suppose if we are creating a particular user as admin,
Mm-hmm.
and another user as a basic user. And
Uh-huh.
again, we are providing administrative privileges to basic user. Then what is the difference between these particular two
We are not
users?
providing the administrative privileges. We are providing the designer privileges. See,
No, no,
this is the
actually, just you
yeah.
you have just shown the test user, right? So in
Uh-huh.
real time also might be some mistakes of, or somebody will do intentionally, right? Then what is the exact difference, or that
See,
will
no,
not have?
there is nothing called administrator group. It's that the database administrator is there, but not a system administrator of this entire environment. So if you are providing any development access to any user, right, they should have this database access. So the difference is that the basic user, if they logs in with the database designer access, they will not be able to access this admin console. Other things they will be able to see that designer, they can see that cloud database, they can see that system logs, RPA and all, they can see that, but they cannot see that admin console. Okay, and why is that? Because admin console has most of the features that you do for your particular environment. Like you can set the branding, you can create the users as well. You can also provide some permissions. You can add the data sources. You can add the certificates for your things. You can also allow the plugins to be deployed. So there are so many other things which is required administrative access. So that thing will not be accessible by a basic user with the developer privileges. Okay.
Okay.
Right. So this is the another shoot, the admin console that we have, where we said that we can set the branding of your environment, what kind of things are can be there. We can deploy the plugins. We can also define the which kind of file we need to upload. We can upload onto the system, right? We can also create the API keys from here, which is required to allow the access if you want to connect your Appian with the third party and the third party wants to connect uses your services, we need to create some API keys and all. So that can be created under this admin console. We can also check the health check report of your environment, how the things are going on, is there any processes there which is causing some issues. So those are the administrative part, right? So those things will not be accessible by a basic user with the developer privileges. Yeah. All right. So these are the four basic suits that we are going to learn, and then we'll see that how we do the steps which is required for your basic development process. As I also want to make it clear, so this is going to be your basic Appian development course where we will be learning throughout your start to end of a particular application. What we will not be covering is that RPA, robotic process automations. That's a separate course that has been introduced in Appian, and then uh, the intelligent document processing, which is another service that has been uh, provided by this Appian, where it's a separate application that they have created and to go through that. So those things will not be covered. But what we will be covering is like creating one application from the beginning to the end of this. So end of the process, end of the training, you will have a working application with you where you can learn about all those objects that we have. Okay. Any questions? Shall we move next?
Uh, what will be the level that we will be at after the course
See, it depends on your
in
total
terms of
experience.
ability, like how good will we be? I mean, the type of application that we can make.
Yeah. So, see, let's say for example, for the interview purpose, if you're asking like, if they ask you what kind of, I mean, how much of experience you have in Appian and all right. So let's say if you have a total experience of 10 years, all right, and then you can say that, out of 10, I have worked on 8 years in whatever the technology you are currently working on, and then you can add 2 years for your current Appian, experience. Now, if you talk about the application, what kind of application you can create, like customer onboarding applications, we can create KYC applications. We can also create some, in terms of healthcare domain, we can create a, like, let's say, label change of your medicines, or some approvals, such kind of applications we can create, right? And then here in the training process, we will be learning about some applications like, for example, uh, amount transfer from one account to other account. We can talk about the leave management application system. We can also talk about you know some request approval, raising a request, all such kind of applications we are going to create. So we'll decide on that part, which use case we are going to have it, and then we can work on that one. Yeah. But as if you are as a fresher, or if you have like 3 to 4 years experience, I'll suggest to go with like mentioning that you have started working on Appian, like you have a year of experience. You didn't get chance to work on the much on the applications, but now uh, there's no project in your company with Appian, so you want to switch, and then you want to learn more about in Appian and all, right? Such kind of we can mention with that.
Sir, what I wanted to ask as well was, like, as a fresher, which one is the better path? The like, if we go into the Appian because it's a niche and there aren't many resources, be proficient in Appian. Is that a better way, or going the traditional MERN stack or mean stack route? Which one is the better approach?
If you are a fresher, right, so I mean, say I mean, whatever we are learning into this training session, right, that maximum you can say that you have at least 2 years of experience, right? Depends on how you are adapting this training and how you are learning the things. But if you go beyond the 2 years, like say if you're going to, let's say I have 3 years of experience, you got it some fake certificates created from somewhere, like you already have experience of 3 or 4 years. Uh, so the questions will be in that fashions. Like say if you go with the 2 years, the questions will be on that particular level. But if you go with the 3 and 4, the question will be tougher. So I'll suggest to go maximum the 2 years of experience in Appian after completing this training, not as a expert and all. Is that your answer? I mean,
No, my question was along the lines of, like, is is low code the future? Is the future for Appian bright, or the
yeah,
traditional program?
definitely. Yeah, see, the traditional is always going to be there, right? No one can remove that. Even this Appian itself has been built in Java. The backend code of this Appian is a Java, right? So there is no way, no one can remove this, the traditional languages from this IT. But the problem is that with the traditional language is that the resources requirement is lesser. Why? Because they need 5 people for a who know the traditional language as Java, so they can create a tool like an Appian, and then for Appian you will require 500 resources. So that's the difference between the tool that we are going to use and then between the traditional language. The number of requirements of the developers are less in the traditionals, right? But the members are too much right now in the market. But for Appian, for example, the tool is like 10 to 15 years old. I think, yeah, 15 years old when it comes to the India, and the resources are very less. So, I mean, right now there are many resources, but still there are a lot of organizations we are using this Appian tool now, and the requirement is very high in terms of number of resources. So if you are good at the if you are very good, not just the good, if you are very good at the traditional languages like Java, C, and all, I'll still suggest to go with that. But the thing is that you have to struggle more to get a job. You will be lucky enough, like if you get a good job for those things, because there are many resources in the market for those things.
So is Appian the market leader in terms of low code development, or are there
Yes,
other
in the low
players
code,
as well?
Appian is the leader right now. Yes. In fact, I had
Okay.
a recent study. And then I see that. Let me see if I can bring it that up. I had it somewhere. according to recent study, it says that Appian is leading the market in the BPM tool. Yeah, I'll
So,
share with that. Yeah.
so one more very basic question about Appian. Uh,
Mhm.
that from my understanding, Appian is a very interesting and a very fast and uh, very good business process tool. But why aren't many companies using Appian? I mean, is the licensing fees too high or something? Or
Yes, licensing fees are high. And then also, right now Appian has introduced like there are two ways of licensing. The number of the sites, what number of sites we are going to use, and then also the based on the number of the users. When we take the number of basic, I mean number of the users, like whatever number of users you are going to create in your Appian environment, based on that they will ask for the site and the licensing fees. So yes, it's very high. And as I said right in the last demo session also, the Appian application that we are creating for the in-house developers. I mean in-house employees. Let's say, for example, for a bank employees who are working in the bank. So application is for them, not for the customers. So it's not possible because a bank may have thousands of customers, right? They can't create the credentials for everyone. So for that, some features Appian has also recently in the last 2 or 3 release, they have introduced portals. Portals are a such Appian object or interface front end for such users who are the customer of an organization and that does not require any credentials to log in. Like, so for example, if I want to visit um, Indian Postal Services, right? Indian Post website, right? I don't need a credential for that, but still I can go and search for our ticket information, right? Where is my parcel based on the parcel number, whatever is get generated, right? So such um, concept Appian has also introduced. You can use some of the features like you can track your request number and all by using this Appian portal, but you don't it doesn't require login. So that is the one greatest thing that Appian has launched in second last quarter. Yeah.
yes, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that was good questions. Anyone else has any questions?
Yeah, sorry. Actually, I'm having. Actually, I just joined a bit late. So, can you
Mhm.
just tell me exact difference between the site and portal? Uh,
So
what kind
again,
of application
site,
of it?
yeah, a site is basically let's say um, site is basically like in-house application that you are creating, which require credentials first of all to log to use a site. Portals you don't require a credential. Okay. Now, for example, let's say you went to the bank and then you are asking, right? Can you please update my mobile number, right? So the banker, the employees will log into the Appian environment, open the application, and then they will, take your inputs and then submit the things. So that is a site where it require an login credentials, which is done by the bank employees. Now, after doing that, they send an email to you, right? Can you please upload this document to the portal because this is your request number. Please go to this URL and then upload the document. So you click on that URL and you provide your request number and all those combination like to check that you are a correct user and then you upload a document. So there you don't require credentials to log in. So that is a portal where you uploaded your document. The document will come to the Appian system and then it will work how it is. But the system where you need a credentials is a site. The system where you don't need a credentials to log in and you can work, but there will be some limitations, right? So that's a portal.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
good. Any more questions? No? Okay.
Yes. So I saw your the courses that you have uploaded, a few, I think six or five, six classes that you uploaded, and you explain things in a very simple and good way. Uh, I saw those. My question actually was, is there a way that we can import and export JSON or Excel files in Appian?
Yes, you can do that. I mean, see, JSON files are also available to import and export. So you can upload any kind of file into the system, and you can, from the JSON, you can bring the data. You can read the file and you can bring the data. So, or like you are uploading a JSON file, and then you require some functions to read that file, and then from there you can have your JSON data and you can convert to the CDT or whatever purpose you wanted to do. But you can do that.
So we import and export JSON files using CDTs.
No, no, there's a file upload feature. Like if an example, in your application, you have a file upload feature where you click on that and you can upload a file. Once you upload a file, and you can, by using the functions, you can read the JSON file and its information. And then if you wanted to convert to the CDT, or if you wanted to whatever, if you want to send it directly to some other cost, you can do that. I'm just saying that you, once you read the file, you can convert to a CDT, or you can convert to your some other, if you can pass it wherever it is required. Mm.
Okay.
Any more question? All right. Now, if no questions, then let me show you some objects. What are the objects we have? We can also talk about more in the next class if couldn't come to today. But let me share my screen. Now, for example, if you create any application, let's say we have created any application. Let's say this is the application that we have created. What are the objects are there that we can create in Appian development cycle, and then how do we, use them? So if we create any application, we come inside this application and we can see under the new, we can have all the things you can also see in listed here. Like this is the direct filter is given to you. Like if I click on the data type, only the listed data type, data type object will be listed here. If I change that to the constant, whatever, if we have any constant, that will come here. So these are the direct filters. To create the new objects, you can click on the new, and then you can see here we have called data type. So in our previous conversation, we are talking about CDTs, right? So that is nothing but a data type. CDT is a full form of the custom data type, where you can define your own set of your data. So if I ask you, what are the data types you know as of now? What are the data types are available for all, like traditional or for the Appian or any tool?
Text, integer.
Yeah, so those are the primitive data types, right? So we have text, integer, boolean, date, right? So these are the primitive data types. Now, if I want to create a set of data which is combination of text, boolean, whatever it is required, right? Let's say, for example, if I want to create a set of information for an employee, as in Java we define a class, right? So here, let's say I want to have employee's name, age, uh, employee is active or not, email address or mobile number, right? So this is a combination of a different text, right? So to collect all this information at one place, we need to create a CDT, that is called a custom data type. So that is what we can create it here. So there are different ways of doing that. We will be seeing all those types in future classes, but this is what we have the data type. Any question?
Yes. About the constant. What is the use of constant?
We'll come to this part. It's down way here, so we'll come to that part for sure. But
Okay.
do we
Okay.
have
Okay.
any? Yeah. Do we have anything here? Data type? Any question? All right. If no, then we move to the next. Second, we have a data store. So if you remember right now, if I have shown you one example where we can add the data stores like JDBC, Oracle. So data store is basically used to connect your environment or your application object to with the database, right? Because we will require to write some data to a table. Sometimes we will require to read the data from the table. So there should be a connection point which can be used to refer, right, which table I need to use, which view we need to read the data, right? So for that we will require a data store. So data store also needed a combination of your table name and then the data type that we have created. And in the data type, if we are going to use a data type in such a way that it has been connected to a table, so we will see all those parts. How do we read the XST file? How do we know that this particular data type is connected to a table or not? We'll see all those parts. But in the data store, that is required. If you want to connect with any table, we will require a data type to mention that which table it has to be connected, right? And any question in the data store?
So, do you have any example of data store? I couldn't really grasp the thing that
Yeah,
you
sure.
explained.
Let me bring that up. Give me a second. Let me bring that up. Okay. Okay. Hope you can see my screen. So Excel sheet. Huh? Okay. So this is my Appian environment, right? You guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is my Appian environment, for example, and this is the database that we are going to use. Let's say we are going to use a MariaDB, right? And then in this database, we have RMP employees, IMS comments, OAB customers, and all different tables that we have. Likewise, we can also have some tables under the Oracle. We can have also some table under the SQL Server. Right. In this Appian environment, what we are going to create is the data types. That is nothing but CDT. So we can create a CDT like RMP employee, which will be mapping with the structure of this table that we have into the system, into the database. So based on this table, we are going to create some CDTs, right? And then, as I said, we have a data store, right? In created in our Appian. So we create one data store, and in there we need to create an entity. So this entity will be mapping, creating a connection point between your database and then this Appian. So once we create a data store, first of all, we need to define this data store that it has to be connected which database, right? For example, as I said, right, JDBC Appian, it was the JDBC Appian Tomcat. So for that one, it was defining. So this particular data store is being connected to which database. So once we get that connection done, so what will happen is that inside this data store, we will be able to get all those listed table information, and that will be get defined by using a CDT. So we create an entity and we define the type here, RMP employee, and then for this RMP employee, we define the type here, and inside this type, it will get connected to this particular table. So that's how the connection works. So basically, data store is a connection point for your CDT and then table name, which can be used to write or read the data from the table. Okay, it will be more clear when we start creating it. You will understand, but this is how it works inside this Appian. The data store will be inside this Appian, and then database is outside. First, we need to create a connection between the data store and app database, and inside that, we need to define different entities. Now, if I ask you, if I have to 5 tables to be get connected, how many entities needs to be created?
5.
Yes, exactly. So for each table connection, one entity is required. Okay. So like for here, this CDT required one entity to be created. Now, The employee name and the CDT name and the database entity name can be same. It's just we have given this underscore entity to make it sure that it's an entity. That's all. Is that clear?
So entities are the things that we create in data store.
Exactly. Each entity will represent a connection between CDT and the table. Okay.
It will represent uh, the CDT and the connection between the database.
Yes, a particular table. Which table
Yeah.
it will read the information or it will write the information.
So if we make any changes in the database or in the CDT, it will
Mhm.
reflect, it will be changed, I mean, in both ends, or what will happen?
One second. I'm sorry. Sorry, that was my daughter. Yeah. So sorry, what was the question?
So if we make any change in the database,
Oh yeah.
or
Okay.
yeah,
See,
or in the
what happens
CDT,
is that.
yeah,
Mhm. So basically, what happens is that there are two ways of doing it, right? Now, suppose if you are making any changes to your database, right? If you are making adding, let's say for example, if you are adding any columns in your database, in that case, you need to change that into your CDT as well. For that, we can have download the XST file. We can add those details inside the XST file and then save that XST file and then re-upload that XST file for your data type. So it will be get reflected. The other way is that if you are making any changes to your CDT, so what will happen whenever you will verify your data store, it will say that one more column has been added to your CDT. It will also generate a DDL file for you. You can have the DDL file and you can use the DDL file to update your database. In the both way, you can update your database or the CD to sync your mapping. Yeah.
okay.
All right. Okay. Let me go back to Appian. So that's about the data store and data type. And then we have record type. So record type is basically, in Appian, it gives you the list of the data. Let's say, for example, you have a list of employees created for you in the table. You can create a record out of it. And in Appian record also allows you to take an action on it. When I say take an action on it, let's say, for example, if you want to add a new record, if you want to add one more employee to your table, you can create a record action for that. Now, if you want to update particular Appian record, like for example, there's an existing employee and they come and they say that I need to change my mobile number, you can also update employee. So for that, we can create a related action, and then you can take action on your existing. So that for that purpose, we have the record. Right now, Appian record is very powerful tool. It also allows you to do the relationship feature where you can add multiple records and create your one record, like kind of the concept that we have in Appian, right? To join multiple tables and have the data. But it is a very faster to get the data from the table now, right? So that's what the Appian record is. And I can say for me, I mean, it's not like Appian is saying that, but for me at least, it says the Appian record is backbone of Appian nowadays. It can do anything, whatever you can perform in the Appian, and it will also help you to create a code very faster. It can generate the code for you. It can generate the interface for you. It can also generate even the process model for you. You don't have to write a single line of code here. It's just a few modification is required, but yes, Appian record is capable of doing all those things. Okay.
W-
Any
What's
any question?
what's Yeah, what's the difference between record and record type?
Record and record type. Where you see the
Yes.
record?
No, I mean the term is used many times in Appian. Like, is record
It's
a
the same thing. It's
single?
a record type. They have given the name as a record type. It's a record only. It's a record.
Uh,
We don't call it record type. We just call it record. It's the same thing. Record type is basically just like the way we have the entities, right? For each CDT, for each table, we have one entity. For example, in the form each table, we can also have one record, but we can also create multiple records. Like say, for example, we have one customer table, we have one address table, right? So we can create two records, customer record and address record, but we can add a relationship and we can have this customer record with all those address information as well. So it's the same thing, record and record type. It just define which table you have connected.
so for example, there's a table called address that contains list of addresses of the employees. That table
Uh-huh.
is called record type.
Yeah, you can create a record type of that particular table.
Oh yeah. So record type. So the database is something different. Record type in Appian just displays the
Yeah,
data.
exactly. So data type is your database side, right? And record type is your Appian side.
Hmm,
You are going to represent that table information into your record.
okay, okay.
Can you show any sample record type created for any of the applications so that we can relate to that?
Sure, sure. So let's see, I'm going to put a filter here. So we have three tables, customers, transaction, and address, okay, into the database, right? We have this customer table, right? You see there are 10 number of records here. If I go and open this record, customer, this is representing the same table here. I have this customer, and then if you go to the list, here you can see that if you edit the list, it will have all those information here, all those 10 employees listed here. Okay, so while creating a record, we have made a connection with this database and then selected this which database table we have to create. Okay, and then you can see we have also added a relationship here. I have this address here. So what happened is that this address is another record. If you open this one, this is connected with that particular table, address table. So this is connected to the customer address table, and it has all those information from the customer address. We go to the list, it has that information from this customer address, and then we are merging these two information by using this relationship feature. So that's why if you go to the list here, you will be able to see the information of the address as well added to your customer information by using this record. You can also take an action. You can add a customer from directly from the record, right? And if you want to update it, you can also update. Let me see if we have the related action. We update customer. So we can also update a customer, and you can also delete a customer from the record directly itself, and that the same will be get reflected to your database
So
table.
if we add a customer through a record type, use the button and then add a customer,
Mhm.
that will be added in the database in the backend.
Yes,
And similarly, if we add a new column or something like that in the database, will that be reflected in the Appian record?
you need to make that changes here. You know, whenever we created this record, right? So it had some data. So if you are going to add something right here, then in the data structure, you need to come and add that. It will get reflected. You just have to come and select that data structure here. You have to modify the source field. You have to map that record fields here. It won't reflect directly. You have to make some changes in the record.
Can we treat record type as a view in terms of database, somewhat similar, or
Yeah, it's a kind of a view only, right? I mean, it can give you the view of your current direct data, what you have in your database, and then it can also give some related information of your data, like, you can see the views are here, right? So if you have, let's say, for example, you are creating any request, and in the request you have going through up and down, back and forth from here and there. So if you want to create an audit trail of that one, like when what action has been taken, you can also create a view, and you can give the name as an audit trail, and you can display the information when the information has been changed from what to what. So all those things you can do that. That's what I'm saying. Record is basically the backbone of this Appian development, and it can do everything which is required in Appian. I mean, the basic development. I'm saying not the RP and all, right? But yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Any more questions, guys? If not, we can continue from tomorrow. We already 36 now, so we can continue from tomorrow to go with all the other objects that we have typed, and then we can start discuss on the any use case that we are going to develop, and then we can continue our development from there.